everybody. I am Simon Whale of Kerfuffle. You should know that already, but you should also know Mr. Mark Hinkins of Rex. How are you, sir? You okay?
I'm good, thank you, Simon. How are you?
Good. Yeah, not bad. It's all quite busy at the moment, which is lovely, isn't it? Which is great to see. But as usual, you guys are especially busy. Lots going on there that you've sworn me to secrecy. So, I always honor an NDA, so I'm not going to say anything there. But I'm really interested today. We're going to have a really, really short, sharp session here today, talking about how do you grow your business? How do you utilize your CRM to actually achieve that? And it goes without saying that that's what everybody's looking for. What I think is there's a staggering lack of detail about how you actually deliver on that. And we were having a conversation the other day, weren't we, about some of the areas, some of the ways that Rex does a really, really strong job on that. So do you want to just kick us off with that? Because I think it's fair to say, isn't it? That's what, when you're sat in demos, as I was in the past, when I was relevant, that would be the plan. That would be what the owner was aiming towards. And it was just how do you get there? Where do you start? How does Rex help you in that respect, Mark?
So, yeah, you're absolutely right. Growth is sort of a buzzword at the moment and has been for a while, where you go into demonstrations, agents you talk to, what we want to do, we want to grow our business. But looking at the kind of the strategy and the tactics behind that, I'm not sure that many agents who come into a CRM demonstration actually know what we're going to do to grow our business and how a CRM could possibly help them do that. So if you want to grow a business, or want to grow an estate agency, there's three basic ways in which you're going to do it. So first one is you're going to try and sell more properties or let more properties than you did last year. So that means doing more or less more of what you have been doing over the past 12 months.
Yep.
Second way is upping your average fee. But that doesn't just start from going and sitting on a sofa, doing a market appraisal and saying we're going to be charging, our fee is 1.75% when last year is 1.5%. So it doesn't just start there. You actually have to do every single bit of marketing communication over the last 6-12 months to get yourself into a place where you are positioned as someone who is a higher fee agent. That perception of you becomes that person's reality or that vendor's reality and enables you to confidently have that conversation. So you can't do that just by going in and charging an additional fee. Well, you probably could, but it's going to help to have all of that communication that's gone through before that. And then the third way is increasing auxiliary services. So do you have a letting side of your business? Are you charging, are you getting referrals for surveys, for anything you can possibly do to optimize the lifetime value of that customer to you as an agency? And for us, and as a CRM provider, we will help in all three facets. So we'll help you be able to get to be more efficient and more productive on operating the way in which you have done for the last 12 months. We're going to help you with every bit of communication that you could have to your entire database or that target in your database to really be making your communication that higher level to mean that you can command that higher fee. And then we're going to have those automations or those semi-automations in place and those prompts that are going to mean that every single time you register an international buyer, are you opening up that opportunity where you could be referring them to an FX broker or someone where you're going to get an introduction fee at that point?
Interesting angle, yeah. And is there, I understand, I mean, most people deviate, let's be honest, the vast majority focus back straight to first one, don't they? How do you let and sell more, basically? Problem is that's such a congested area. It's control the controllables. Yes, you can affect that, but it's not like your competitors are going to just let you do that, are they? The other angles feel like they're more in your sphere of influence. And actually, I've seen, I think one of the, you do fight over that market share religiously, as you should do. But my perception has been that the quality agents go straight for that second option of how do you get your fees up there, because it's such a defender in terms of your margin, isn't it? By doing that part of it right, by charging a higher fee but delivering a better service, feels like the sweet spot of long-term profitability and growth of the business.
It is. It definitely is. And it's actually counterintuitive for me as a CRM salesperson for me to say anything other than the first one. So we all know the old prop tech adage of basically saying it's just going to cost you one more. It's just going to get more sale to kind of justify that fee. But we can be saying, look, it's something that's quite measurable. In the time it takes you to do X in your current CRM, you could do X times 2 in Rex or your new CRM. So it's really easy for us to actually talk on the efficiency and productivity, but that's not really where the super gains are that you're going to have as a business. You can do a little bit of that, and we'll definitely talk on that. But actually, it all comes from how do we improve, how do we maybe use that time that you've saved to increase the touch points or the communication or the way in which you're framing yourself, and then really growing that part of point 2 that I was saying, to really be able to say, look, we're having deeper conversations, we're presenting ourselves in a better way, which is allowing us to really command a higher fee, and that's the point in which we can really help. And then the basics of the automation or anything that we add in for point 3 is something that a CRM with a decent open API or workflow builders in the system that will enable you to automate or optimize a certain process and customize it. Not many of the CRMs are going to be able to do that. But if you're doing a CRM if you're with a CRM that will enable you to, you'll be looking at an extra 2, 3, 4, 5,000 on your top line every single month.
And I think it's one of those, one of the things I've always said about Rex is that there's a lot of, very, very good new players in the marketplace in terms of CRM that really, really look the part. But, a lot of that comes down to a lack of functionality as well, doesn't it? Whereas actually, because of Rex's long history over in Australia, who do CRM, this core CRM piece right, I believe, to combine that, the simplicity of the UI and the depth of functionality is the real sweet spot that feels like you guys have had for some time. And not least, it's obviously was demonstrably shown, because spicers don't just choose anybody, do they? And to win that so early in the day coming over here shows that ability for you to deliver on these key claims is a vital element. Is this where it feels like that you do have that sweet spot, that you're able to not just talk the talk, but show across the many thousands of international clients that you've got that this is possible and indeed attainable by most clients?
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, look, you bring out a new CRM, or you have a CRM that doesn't have the depth of functionality, and it's really easy to make the user interface look nice if it's sort of minimalist and you don't actually have much to go in there. I think what we've been able to achieve with Rex is we've got the depth of functionality for different types of businesses. So not just a standard high street agent, or not just a self-employed broker model. We can operate across all of them. We've got the depth of functionality, and we still have a really attractive, usable, functional UI.
Yeah. So how do people, in your experience, it's always just difficult to get started, isn't it? Everyone's going to buy into what you just said there. One, list, sell more properties, lease or sell more, up in your fee, auxiliary services. What should they do? Do they need to be understanding what the priority is, then coming to you? Do they just come and have an open conversation? What's the best way of actually making this a reality?
Yeah, so you look at, I think you need to look at a little bit your mindset when you're coming in and actually picking up the phone or having a conversation with a CRM provider when you're starting to make that initial decision. So what's really, really important for you to do? So if you are wanting to grow your business, do you have an idea of what you want that to look like? And don't just go down that sort of rabbit hole of, we have a CRM at the moment, this is our process, we want a CRM that will be a bit more up to date with a shinier skin, and that's what we're going to go with. You actually need to look at your business processes, what you want to achieve, and find a CRM that will help you actually achieve that, rather than falling back on just going for something that looks quite shiny.
Because that same but a bit better is a real challenge, isn't it? I mean, and that's where a lot of us, I think one of the other things is you don't probably want to challenge yourself to go for too much change, do you? A lot of the time it feels like some of the systems you think out there, I think that's quite exciting, but it's going to be such a step change in terms of what we do that makes it very difficult to make the conceptual leap on it. But I keep coming back to it though. CRM is just it's far too important, and for ages it's focused on the pretty mundane sort of boring stuff here, but at its absolute core, the reason why I think anybody accepts that the CRM systems have to be the foundation of your tech stack in your business is because it should be able to take you forwards on this path.
Yeah, it's the most central tool to your business. And look, if you want to do the same, but just a little bit better, that's absolutely fine. It still means that you're progressing. But if you really want to kind of look at some of the differences in a state agency in the last 5 years and how systems have moved forward, we're not just focusing on the transaction anymore. We are focusing on that entire relationship, that entire, for want of a better term, a life cycle sort of thing. And that is the way that estate agency is going, and that's the way that CRMs are helping to guide that.
Yeah.
And so, look, going with a system that you've had for the last 10 years, but with a slightly shinier skin, you're probably going to do the same, slightly better, a slight incremental change. But if you are wanting to really shape what your business is going to look like for the next 10 years, that's when you take that, I wouldn't say take a risk, but that's where you make that jump and go to systems that are really going to help get you at the forefront of a estate agency.
We know from the kind of consultancies we do with some of the, you know, the very best agents, that those, what you're highlighting here is the very question that's being asked, whether they're talking about plotting the lifetime value of a client or looking at the lifetime journey of somebody, whether that's across lettings or sales there. That's what people are looking for that next package now, because famously you don't, you know, the last thing you want to be doing is jumping around CRM systems. I mean, you don't want to jump around any system if you can possibly help it, but given the disruption, given everything else, these are typically 5 to 10 year investments. And if you're going to get on the, if you're going to back the wrong horse, you're just kicking that can down the road, aren't you? If you're not really going to make the, you know, suss out. So I think you have to understand is what is that medium long-term vision look like for the business? Can you do it with the amount of people that you've already got there? Can you do it with the tech you've got? And if not, then a first port of call clearly needs to be someone like yourself to have that, you know, have that exploratory conversation.
Yeah, I mean, look, you can, the further you kick that can down the road, the bigger the implementation, the inevitable implementation of a new system that you're going to be taking on, the bigger that implementation is going to be. So if you're kicking that down the road, even another 6 months, market looks different. The time you have in your hand, the priorities that have in place, the sort of the unexpected changes in the business, they're going to jump out at you. And it probably means that 6 months where you pushed it is going to turn into 12, and you're losing that initial edge that a lot of your competitors are just jumping.
And this is a classic challenge with CRM, is waiting for that perfect period to do something like it's just sat around. Everyone used to try and book up in December, you know, and because that was perceived quieter there. But, you know, there is no perfect time. There's always going to be disruption. If it's a quieter time as well, you can quite easily justify that there's going to be a lack of activity. That means your teams don't get up to speed quickly. Secondly, you've got that horrible thing is everyone goes home at Christmas and then they come back thinking, how do I work this new system here? But that crucial point is that, you know, is just understand what the long-term vision is, because actually, as long as you're working with the team right, the disruption is about just that fear factor of change. And of course there is that getting used to a new package, but this isn't something that should go on for months and years, is it? It should be, if it's done right, that feeling should be there. Obviously a little fall off in productivity in the first week or two, and then a steady ramp up, isn't it, to get you back to where you're going, as long as you're going with a sensible company, of course.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, you look at it that you can kick the can down the road for even doing the discovery and doing the initial conversations with CRM providers. But actually, if you're going to be having that, if you're thinking about it, take the steps now. And it might not be that you're going to push the button for another 6 months, but take the steps now, have that in mind, phase a few things out, qualify a few things out, get to the point where you've got a good idea of what you need to do, so that if the time becomes available in 3 months' time where you can just push the button after a much smaller conversation or a much smaller sales cycle, then it's really important to do if you've got that little bit of time now. But the implementation, as you're saying, it really isn't as painful as potentially it was a few years ago, or what's maybe made out. And yes, there will be a slight productivity drop-off. It is inevitable when you're switching systems, but the way in which we shape it is that you can do some of your training beforehand. We can try and get you to hit the ground running as much as you possibly can. But what's really important is we get the time to parity of your current system as short as possible. So you're switching system, and that time to being operating at a level with parity of where you were on your previous system is reduced as much as we possibly can do. And then you're starting to see the benefits of why you actually chose to move in a much quicker time period. And it is an iteration. It's not going to be perfect in a week. It's not going to be perfect in a month. But 6, 9, 12 months from now, even probably even shorter, you're going to start seeing the real incremental differences that just didn't exist in your previous system.
I was going to ask you, and you just teed it up there perfectly, is what's again, getting that expectation level right. Is that what we're talking about? Isn't typically it should be a few months for you to start, getting the data right, so get everyone up to speed there, and then actually being able to, essentially get the fruits of your labors from having made the change. That feels right.
Yeah, I mean, look, you sign with us today, we're going to get you on the product somewhere between the next 4 and 12 weeks, depending on who you're coming across from, depending on how quickly you want to do it. And that's the point at which you're going live on the system. And then for a week or 2 weeks, you're really getting used to it, getting down to the nitty-gritty, the nuts and bolts. For those 2 weeks, it's not going to be particularly easy. We try and help as much as we possibly can do. But it's going to be the point at which after that 2 weeks, you're going to be at that comparable level of operating as you were on your previous system. And then it's the journey over the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months in which you are just ramping the activity or ramping what you're able to do with the new system, discovering all these exciting things that you didn't really even think of during the sales process that are really going to be those sort of known unknowns that are going to be helping you. And then you look at it six months from now, and your business is a completely changed business than where it was 6 months ago. And over time, because of the customization, because of what you're able to develop in Rex, and because what we're developing, you're going to be growing incrementally and iterating on everything that you do over your time period with us.
And of course, not making a decision is actually making a decision in its own right as well. And of course, to see the goal of what you can achieve in a system like yours, that opportunity cost of not making that decision earlier is only going to get worse. You're literally leaving money on the table, aren't you, by not being able to do that?
Yeah, we focused a lot on the sort of return on investment and what's our return on investment with going with the new CRM. What you really need to look at as well is your cost of inaction. What are you costing yourself if you're not making this change? What are you costing yourself if you're waiting 3, 6 months for doing this when you could be making the jump, getting your team on the system, learning the whole system, operating at a much kind of greater level than you are at the moment, and that cost of inaction is something that is often not considered.
Excellent. Well, I think it's great that there's somebody talking the talk on this, because ultimately this is where everyone, regardless of looking at the more defined functionality, that functionality leads to being able to grow the business and ultimately you can only outperform the competition unless you've got the very best people by being more productive, and CRMs have to be the driver of that, don't they? In most bits, everything else tends to be around the edges. As far as I can see, what's the best way, other than obviously going on the fantastic the biased Kerfuffle website, having a look at obviously your landing page and everything else? Do they get in contact with you and just have this exploratory conversation, and you could talk them through what you're learning from all of these clients?
Yeah, we've grown our sales team in the last 3 months by 3 new people, I think, and we've increased our headcount in the UK by about 44%. So
I think a massively important story, actually, isn't it? Because a lot of people get very concerned about the fact that, well, these international companies, are they going to be around? Are they, am I going to be dealing with sort of weird time things? Rex from day one, and probably because of some of the caliber of clients you've got, have massively believed in that feet on the ground over here as well, haven't they? Understanding the local market, local support, but with that brilliant element, which you can't ignore, of actually you get the follow the sun support then, don't you? Because just as we're stopping over here, your team in Australia as well picks up as well, don't they? Which, that's actually that's far better. As for a business critical system like CRM, I'd be flagging that as a massive benefit.
Yeah, and we'll hold our hands up. We got it wrong to start with. We didn't have local support to start with, and I think that stuck with us a little bit too much. But we've had a full-time local support team in the UK now for the last 3.5, almost 4 years.
Yeah.
That team is growing exponentially. We've got great customer satisfaction scores. But yeah, as you highlighted there, as soon as the UK team go offline, the Australian team are picking that up. So where else do you get 24-hour or close to 24-hour support? What other CRM can do that?
It's right. And look, you spoke about the clients. I think you've got the, is it Ben Madden's on board as well. You've got your Sean Newmans using the software as well. So, I mean, these are all heavy hitting, forward thinking agents that they've been around the block. They know exactly what the systems can achieve. So almost you can go almost justify, them having been not the guinea pigs, but putting the hard work as well, testing it and making sure this works for the local marketplace. And as you said there, given all that resource you have back home as well, driving the product further forwards to enable you to grow your business is a nice tick in the box, as they say.
Yeah, and we have some phenomenal businesses on board, as you mentioned, sort of Sean Newman's business, Ben Madden's business, and what's happening. And I think what's happening on a macro level across the market is those great businesses are getting a lot further ahead and widening the gap between those average businesses.
The best are definitely getting better, aren't they? That direction of travel is just so easy to see. Whether you're looking at these market data stats and everything else there, that's what do they call it, the 20% or whatever it is. It's such a truism that it's pushed forwards, and understandably, unless you can systemize that and you can get those efficiencies into your business, it's not really going to come from anywhere else, is it?
No, they're constantly evolving. That's the main thing they do. Don't just sit still, constantly evolving, assessing their tech, having good conversations with you, for example, and making sure that their tech stack looks right. And they've landed on, a lot of those businesses have landed on Rex. And look, it's not going to work for absolutely everyone. There's no one size fits all in CRM, but these businesses that we're working with and the general kind of makeup of our client base are phenomenal businesses who are accelerating and pushing the boundaries.
Well, as you gave me a shameless plug there, I'm going to jump straight into that open door. Do remember, everybody, we love to jump on, obviously, tech stack reviews with people. We sit down, look at what's not working for you, help out where we can do, and look at, obviously, where we can find solutions like Rex out there that feels like, that you're such a special point now in terms of you've got a really great foundation in the UK here. You've obviously got the massive Australian business as well, and just ready to push on with that at a rate of knots. And, looking at this kind of thought leadership piece today about growing your business, everyone needs to have on their agenda, and asking the question, if your existing providers aren't being proactive about this, are they the right long-term provider for you?
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely.
You're going to agree with me on that, because
I'm 100% going to agree with you on that. And answering your earlier question, we've grown our sales team. If you want to reach out, you can do so via the website or drop me a message on LinkedIn, or obviously go through Simon. And yeah, just
magic. Well, as I said, I alluded to it before. I know we've got some massive news coming out shortly as well. Very exciting for you guys. But for today, I think we've got enough as well today. Thanks, Mark. Thanks for the Rex team there. Look forward to catching up with you in the future.
Cheers, Simon.
Cheers.
I was yours for the taking. Guess I needed a home.